back to Handmade at Home.
You know, cane webbing is really trending right now.
But honestly, it's a little expensive. If you're looking to add cane webbing into your everyday decor, this is the video for you because we're gonna show you 3 easy projects on how to add it to your space.
Now, what is cane webbing? Cane webbing is actually thin pieces of cane that are woven together to create designs. Now, a lot of people call it rattan.
And we might actually do that too a few times throughout this video.
That because, you know, it just flows off the tongue, but it's actually called cane webbing. But enough with all this, let's get started.
Yes. You can find cane webbing online. They come in a wide variety of different lengths and different sizes.
Yeah, and for our first project, we're gonna be making a hanging planter.
Yes, because who doesn't love plants? So essentially we're gonna be creating a hammock or a cradle for our pot here. Before we get started, you do wanna measure your pot. We actually already pre-cut our cane webbing to size to fit, but I wanted to show you. So it's about 14 by 14. And before I get started, I'm actually gonna use a piece of paper as a template or a guide. I'm gonna trace the circle right there up the pot. And then I'm going to cut it down to a square. This just helps me kind of figure it all out. You know, I feel like when you have math with a craft situation, you know, you kind of just, you know, designers make it work. You figure out what works best for you, you know, but there really is no right or wrong way to do this. This is just how I'm doing it.
And we also found out that it's easier to work on a piece of paper than it is to work on the cane webbing, specifically when trying to figure out all this math.
Yeah, and also because the cane webbing is curled, it's kind of a little difficult to work with. And also you have the little flyaways there, but actually later on we're gonna use the curl to our advantage.
Yes, and if you want to get rid of the curl, if you're having trouble working with it, a great tip is to soak your cane webbing in a bathtub or in a big bucket just for about 20 minutes. That's gonna make it a lot more flexible and a lot easier to use.
So whenever kind of creating a little cozy or a hammock for your plants, it's always good to start with a square. And actually we learned that from Marianne. She made something very similar a few years ago, I think at this point. She's good with her crafting and she said start with the square. She is the queen of crafts. So we found our center point right there. I already pre-measured to find my center point of the rattan, of the cane webbing. So I'm just gonna line that up in the center there, match up my hole. And now I'm going to kind of build out from my square there and measure where I want to cut.
And the great thing is that cane webbing is a grid, so it's pretty easy to follow along. Splintering and fraying is an issue with cane webbing, but we have a tip that we're going to use that's really gonna help with that.
Now, it seems a little confusing, but you know, once you see it, you're gonna go, oh, I see what you guys are doing. This makes me think, you know, what your favorite part about crafting is. Is it the process? Is it when it's over? You know, and you can look back and say, wow, I made that. All right.
Mine is a bit of both. What do you think?
You know, I don't know.
Especially when
it depends on the day, depends on the cat, really. He kind of makes those decisions for me. All right, now that we have it all measured, I'm gonna cut out my corners here, and actually we're gonna save these for another craft later. I'm just gonna go again on the inside. Hold on, cat interference. On the inside of the cane webbing there, and just cut out these little squares that I just traced.
And like we said, cane webbing is a grid. So as you can see, Dennis is cutting between the circles, which helps keep everything together, which is really helpful.
Yeah.
It helps you keep a straight line, and it helps keep it all together. And you do want to use a nice sharp pair of scissors for these. It will really help just cut everything nice and clean. Cane webbing can really seem daunting to work with, but once you start working with it, you kind of understand. You're like, oh, it's actually not too bad. Wow.
Here it is. This is its little nest. And then we're going to save these for another project in a little bit. Now that we have our piece cut, I do want to seal the edges so that there's no additional splintering or anything like that. And for that, I'm just going to use a little bit of craft glue. You know, there's a lot of different items that you can use to kind of seal the edges there. But you know, we want to keep this for the every person. You know, that so anyone can make this craft.
Yeah,
and this is really the best way. And we're just going to be adding a little bit of craft glue to the ends here. You can use your fingers, a brush, and that will just help keep everything in place. And actually, we tried this, and we were surprised at how much it actually held up.
Yeah, the great thing is that craft glue dries clear, and most people have it.
And you do want to add additional craft glue towards the ends here because we're actually going to be threading in a rope to hang this. So you just want to add a layer of craft glue, about 1 or 2 grids in there. Or, you know, you could even do the whole thing, honestly, if you wanted to.
Yeah, you really could.
So doing the edge, and try to get both sides. You can use your fingers or a brush, and then again, going in a little bit on the first and second grid with a little bit of glue, just to hold everything in place. And honestly, this is pretty much it. Then after this, we're going to add our rope, and then we're ready to hang. All right, this looks good. We're gonna let it dry a little bit, and then we're ready to add our rope. Our little hanging planter is dry, so now we're just going to cut the rope. We want 4 equal size pieces of rope. I'm gonna use the length of my table here to trim them down, and always our little macrame trick so that the rope doesn't unravel is to just wrap it with a piece of painter's tape or whatever tape you have at home, masking tape.
Scotch tape.
Yes,
whatever.
any of it. And then you can cut it in half. This will also help actually thread our rope through the cane webbing there. We want 4 equal sized pieces. And now we're going to thread it through and tie it off. I'm gonna go in, work in 4s here. So go 2 in and 2 in, pull the rope through and then just tie it. And I'm going to work across. So again, 2 and 2, pull it through.
2 and 2, pull it through.
And then tie a knot on the inside. And you just want to make sure your knot is large enough that it won't pull through the cane webbing there. Actually, you can turn this into a purse, I think, even.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
You're right.
Plant hanger or purse. You know, you do you.
I'm into it. Now you do want to be careful about the pot you use. We actually are going to have a pot in a pot. So when we water it, we can take out the plant without taking out the pot, but you want to make sure that you're not watering on the cane webbing because that will warp it and also can like attract mold and stuff like that.
And I'm also gonna pull off the painter's tape here now that I have my knots tied. All right, so we're going to get our plant and then hang it. Oh my gosh, it looks so cute!
It really does. All right, okay, now we're gonna make a craft using the scraps left over. Now we're gonna use these scraps from the hanging planter to make coasters. And we're actually gonna be using these sample floor tiles. We found these at a big box hardware store and they were actually discontinuing this color, so we got a set of 4. But you can always ask them if they have different colors and stuff like that. Mix and match your colors, but they are free, so they're really great to use. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my piece of flooring and I'm just going to measure out this scrap of cane webbing so it fits to size. And I'm just gonna use my pencil. And the great thing about this, it already has this rubbering, so this is gonna be great to use as a coaster, but it's also gonna help just hold everything together. So I'm gonna find an edge I like and put it right against it, and then I'm just gonna cut it out. Again, cane webbing is great for projects like these because it is a grid. It helps keep everything nice and in line. But a good tip is to just go slowly while you're cutting. All right, I'm gonna check if it fits. It looks good.
I think it'd be really cute with some acrylic paint or even kind of using the cane webbing as a stencil, I think would be really fun too.
Oh yeah, that's cute. But there is something just really nice about having natural.
Yes, I think that's a big trend right now. Everything is very simple, clean, natural, a lot of muted earth tones.
Yes, yes.
But, you know, for us, that's a trend all the time.
Now it's time to adhere our cane webbing to our base. Now we tried a lot of different glues and we found out that just a really heavy duty industrial glue works best. Now for doing that, I recommend a paper plate just because you cannot get this stuff off of your palette. So you do want to use something that you can't, that you don't really want to keep. Also, you want to work quickly just because it does dry relatively quickly, and you want to use a paintbrush that you really don't want anymore. So I'm using a paintbrush that we've used a ton and it's kind of on its way out. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to lightly brush on the glue, making sure I'm not adding too much where it's gonna seep through when I press it together. But really what I'm focusing on are these edges, just because I really wanna make sure that the edges are down and like the center. Now you'll notice right away your paintbrush starts really getting stuck together, so just try to work as quickly as possible. And now I'm just gonna line it up right onto my square. Then I'm actually gonna be using binder clips to hold everything down. So I'm gonna start in the corner and just go along. Now we have crafting binding clips that we use for different craft projects, so I feel like it's always a good thing to keep on hand because, you know, after you're out of school, like, do you ever use binder clips?
No.
Yeah, right?
Well, we use them a lot, actually. They kind of become our extra set of hands whenever we're crafting. You know, of course you can lay like a book or something heavy on this, but the binder clips work really well.
Yes, and if you're gonna lay a book on top, we really recommend adding a piece of parchment paper or something just so
you won't damage your book.
Yes.
And for this, you want to follow the instructions on your glue, the specific glue that you're using, because each glue has a different curing time. This one actually takes, you know, although it has like an instant grab, it does recommend waiting 24 hours before using it. We probably will cheat a little bit.
Now we're just gonna let these dry and we'll be ready to use them.
So cute, utterly charming.
Yes.
We still have some leftover cane webbing, so we're gonna turn that into another project. Now we're going to make a temporary lampshade. We already cut down our cane webbing to the size of our lampshade here. It's about 7 inches wide and about 23.5 inches around. We're going to be using these wood veneer strips. We love this stuff. It's so good. We actually made a whole table using these wood veneer strips.
We're finally using the scraps.
Yes, these are left over from that table. Really simple to use. You just need an iron. It comes with adhesive backing.
Yeah, you can find these at any big box hardware store.
So I'm just going to use a little bit of parchment paper here just to protect my little ironing board.
Yeah, you want to use parchment paper to protect your ironing board and your iron as well, just because the glue from the veneer will actually, it can glue onto your iron.
So and actually I cut down a piece that it's a little longer than my length here, and then once we have our wood veneer ironed on, I'm gonna give it a trim.
Yeah, and this is just gonna create a really nice border, really elevate it, and also just help with the seams as well.
All right, so I'm just gonna level it and just eyeball it. I have the wood veneer strip right up to the edge there. I'm gonna lay some parchment paper, and you know this will you know, adhere very quickly, so you don't have to let it sit on the wood veneer there too long.
Yeah, you actually don't want to overheat it because it will splinter the wood veneer and it will also splinter the cane webbing. So just a little bit of heat. If it feels like it's not on right away, just press it down with your hands a little bit and let it cool before moving on.
You know, and this is just to hold it in place so I can work across. Again, we didn't take the time to flatten our cane webbing, so actually if you know, flatten it, that would probably help. It would be easier to work with. But you know, sometimes when you're crafting, you just want to get it done. Now we're gonna flip it around and do the other side. Really cute. And you can see, you can just use scissors. These are the scissors that we've been using all day here. It just, you know, it's a very thin piece of wood, so you can just use scissors to cut it.
Great. What I love about this project is that it is temporary. I think something like cane webbing feels very seasonal sometimes. It feels very spring, summer, so you might not want it in the winter. This way you can take it off easily and put it right back on next season. If you get tired of it, you're not stuck to it.
You can use a book to kind of hold that down or help you, or bricks if you happen to have a brick in your home.
Yes.
We used to have a brick here all the time that we would use. I don't know what ever ended up happening to that brick. Now, our secret for making this a temporary lampshade is to use magnets. Our wood veneer strips are all dry, so I'm just going to trim up our little faux lampshade here. And now I'm gonna use some hot glue to glue on my magnets. And I'm actually gonna glue it onto the wood veneer strips rather than the rattan, just because I think we have more leverage there, I guess.
Yeah, more surface area. I think it'll just stick
better.
Stick better, yeah.
Okay, now I'm going to kind of measure it around my lampshade here. All right, and now I'm going to add our other magnets to the other side there. I'm actually gonna match them up to the magnet that I already glued down. Wrap my shade pretty tightly around the drum. And then I'm gonna glue these magnets in place on the outside of the lampshade. And we're gonna add the hot glue to the outside of the lampshade and let that sit for a really long time so that it really gets stuck.
You just wanna make sure you're not gluing the lampshade together. I mean, if you want this to be a permanent lampshade, just skip the magnets and just
glue it right to, yes, a drum of a lampshade. So cute. All right, and now we're going to just trim our edge here. I'm gonna use the magnet as a guide. You know, it doesn't look cute, but that's okay, because the actual shade looks cute. And there we go. We got a little cane webbed lampshade. Temporary. All right, we made some solid projects using cane webbing. We hope we inspired you to get crafty with cane webbing. Unfortunately, we put our cat to sleep, but...
Let us know in the comment below if you're working on any really trendy projects right now. We want to know. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe, and we'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.